Hello, everyone. This is Nadia Hernandez, Executive Producer at ELS. Welcome to today's ELSx, and thank you for joining us. ELS is a community that brings together executive assistants supporting the world's most influential leaders. We cultivate professional development by providing an experience for assistants to connect, collaborate, and contribute solutions to their greatest challenges. We're also the creator of ELS Forum, a professional development experience for executive assistants held in cities across North America. At the forum, attendees gain support, training, and inspiration from world-renowned instructors and peers to discover a renewed sense of purpose and passion in their career. If you're interested in attending a forum, you can find more information at elsforum.com. Today, I'm thrilled to have the president of ELS with us, Emily Burley. Emily created executive leadership support with a singular mission: to empower and educate top executive assistants and support them in achieving greatness in their career. In just 3 years since launching, ELS has delivered high-value programming to thousands of top-performing admin professionals spanning myriad industries and markets worldwide. Hello and welcome, Emily.
Hello, everybody.
Today, Emily will be discussing how to get your professional development approved and paid for. There will be an opportunity to get your questions answered. Please submit your questions at any time via the Questions tab on your webinar toolbar on the right-hand side of your screen. You can also download a copy of the slides via the Handout tab on the menu. A certificate of attendance and a recording of this presentation will be emailed to you tomorrow. It's now my pleasure to hand it on over to you, Emily.
Thank you so much, Nadia, and hello, everybody. I am thrilled to be here today, and truly this topic around how to get your professional development approved and paid for is a passion topic for me, really for two main reasons. One, I have worked for an organization before that did not value professional development, and it was extremely frustrating and discouraging trying to get professional development approved for. So I have been in the trenches before. I've experienced the heartache and the disappointment, and I've worked and navigated on how to get professional development approved and paid for. And the second area, and probably most importantly, is that our community of executive assistants at ELS, what they tell us is that they're often afraid to ask for professional development. Or if they're not afraid, they're overwhelmed by how to navigate that track. How do you go about asking for professional development and getting it approved and paid for? So today, my goal is to talk through how you can accomplish this and really walk away from this webinar feeling empowered that you can, in fact, get professional development approved and paid for, and that you have options. So let's go ahead and dive right in. First thing to know is that the answer is no until you ask, right? So unless you've asked, unless you've gone through the process of seeking approval for training and development, the answer is automatically no, because you've done nothing about it. And I think often we find ourselves in situations where we're sitting at our desk and we're contemplating registering for a course or a conference, and we make up scenarios in our head. Oh, the answer is going to be no because of X, Y, Z. But you truly don't know until you ask. So why assume? Because if you're assuming, the answer is automatically no. I love this quote. They fired me because I asked for the resources I need to help my executive achieve greatness. Nobody ever. Think about this, you guys. No one ever has been fired because they asked for the resources they need in order to achieve greatness, both in their career and in their executive's career. It's impossible. You cannot be fired. You cannot be let go from a position and you certainly should not be looked down upon in your position if you're asking for the resources you need to do your job to the best of your ability. You want to better yourself. You want to seek out professional development so that you can ultimately help your executive be more strategic in their role. That is, you should be proud to ask for professional development. Think this through a bit. This is huge. We should not be afraid to ask for professional development or anything that's going to better us as humans, as within our career, within our profession. I'd like to go through a number of steps with you around how to ask for professional development and also budget. But before we dive in, I'd like to share a personal story that I think is relatable to this topic. When I was going to college, I was applying for a school that was out of state. And I'll back up a little bit. I actually was born and raised in Michigan. And my grandparents were born and raised in Michigan, and my parents were born and raised in Michigan. And I grew up knowing that I wanted to go to Michigan State University. I was born and raised to be a Spartan. And when I was 16, my family moved across the country to Florida, and I went to school there for 2 years. And so when it came time to go to college, I wanted to go to Michigan State. But because I had lived out of state for 2 years, I had to pay out-of-state tuition. But my family wasn't in a position where they could afford to pay out-of-state tuition. So I went to school at Michigan State anyway, and I had to pay for that out-of-state tuition on my own. And I immediately was appealing that decision from the university. It seemed unfair that generations of my family had lived in Michigan, and just because I had lived out of the state for a year and a half, not even quite 2 years, that I had to pay out-of-state tuition. So I appealed it, and it was denied and denied and denied and denied. And finally, after almost 2 years of this process, I got a meeting with the board of trustees, and I explained to them my situation, and they asked questions, and I answered their questions. And the next day after the meeting, the president of the board of trustees called me and said, "Emily, we had no idea that this was an issue affecting you and hundreds of other students. So we're going to change our policy, and we're going to refund your out-of-state tuition, and we've now classified you as an in-state student." And that policy remains today, nearly 15 years later. The fact is that they didn't know. They didn't know that it was an issue. Your companies don't know that executive assistants need training. No one's probably considered it before. No one has had the interest or the drive or the motivation to bring it to the table. Maybe nobody's ever asked for it before. No one has ever considered what the EA needs. Shocker. That's because nobody is you. It is your job as the EA who wants to better their career and better their profession and better themselves as a human, and wants to better their relationship with their executive and help support them on a more strategic level to bring it to the table. Because chances are your organization has no idea that you need training. So let's dive into the steps to bring them up to speed on the fact that you need training. So the first one is budget analysis. Do your homework. Before you start anything, before you dive into anything, get some awareness around what the budget is. It's going to be different at every single organization. I've seen it all. Some people have like $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 of budget. That's like best case scenario. That's a dream scenario. Some people have zero budget. It's important to understand the process. So who controls it? Who manages it? Do you have any budget? Do I actually control this budget that I didn't even know I had? Does my executive control the budget? Is it a departmental budget? Do I share it with other people in my department? Do I have to go to HR? Is it training and development? Is there another department within my organization that manages it. So do your homework and figure out where the budget comes from, how much it is, who's managing it. I can't tell you how many times I've heard from assistants that they didn't even know they had a training and development budget until they asked. So don't be afraid to do your homework and do a little digging and figure out where this budget is coming from. A lack of budget is not a dead end. It is an opportunity to be an advocate and an innovator. And this goes back to the story I just shared about when I went from out-of-state tuition to in-state tuition. This is not a dead end. If your budget is zero, oops, Emily did all my homework, found out my budget is zero. Okay, well, we got a little bit of a road ahead of us, but it doesn't mean that it's a dead end. It doesn't mean like, oh, no budget, guess I can't go to an event or to a conference or to take this training course. It's an opportunity to be an advocate and an innovator. And this is your chance to do this. You can't tell an executive assistant something that isn't possible because they always find a way. You guys, you spend every single day making the impossible possible for those that you support. Every day, you bend over backwards to make things happen for your executive or the team that you support. What about you? You can do that same thing for yourself. You deserve it. It goes back to what I was mentioning before. Maybe nobody has ever considered the executive assistant and what you need. So it's up to you to bring it to the table. Let's have a conversation about it. This is something that is needed. Take that same passion and persistence that you have for getting things done for your executive and those you support and apply it to yourself and watch what will happen. Amazing things will happen, I promise you. All right, step 2, value proposition. So I'm going to go through 3 different value propositions, and I want you to know that the value proposition is going to vary based on your organization, the needs of your organization, the type of organization, who you're supporting. So I'm going to propose 3 different value propositions. It's up to you guys to choose and navigate which value prop works for you. I don't recommend using all 3 value propositions. I think it would be overkill and too much information. So let's go through these 3, and I'd love for you to consider, this one would really work well for me. The first is to reference your most recent performance review or feedback conversation. So think about the most recent feedback you've received. Might have been in a formal review, might have just been on a one-on-one that you've had with your boss. Tie the learning objectives of the conference or course or whatever the professional development is that you're looking to attend. Tie those areas that you need to improve upon into the course content. So here's some examples for you. Let's say you want to brush up on your project management skills, or you want to get a project management certification. Maybe you need some technology training. Maybe it's leadership and communication. Maybe it's time management. Maybe you're burnt out or you're approaching burnout, which is pretty scary. These are things that are addressed not only at the ELS Forum, but at so many other events, so many other training courses. Link the curriculum of the conference, of the professional development course, to the things that you need to improve upon and things that you've already been given that feedback on. It's quite silly to think about receiving feedback, especially hard skills like technology or project management. It's really difficult to give feedback if you receive feedback that you need to improve upon these things and then not receive the training needed to improve. So these are actionable steps you can take to getting closer to improving upon those areas and those skills. Step 2B, also within this value proposition, is tying professional development to the needs of the company, or the goals of the company. So you guys know what the pain points are. You're in the thick of it. You know what's happening within your organization. What needs to be improved upon? Where can you help? Link those pain points to the content of the course. So here's some examples. Let's say you're supporting somebody new. That is a great time to dive into some professional development because you're learning to synergize with somebody new. Maybe you have two totally different communication styles. Maybe this person is super self-sufficient and you need to learn how to manage up. Taking on additional responsibilities. Maybe you've recently been handed over some additional responsibilities like project management. Maybe you need to be more influential among the team. You find content in the course agendas that link to this. Recent communication breakdowns. This happens all the time. What are the communication breakdowns happening within your office? How can you go get training on that to solve those issues? Project delays and mismanagement. Again, where are the pain points when it comes to projects, deadlines, total mismanagement? Where can you get additional training on these things to help solve problems within your office? Company culture shift. If you've ever attended an event before, an ELS event, or even participated on some of our webinars, you'll know that EAs as culture carriers is a main theme for us. We truly believe that your role as an executive assistant is also of a culture carrier. It means culture starts at the top with the executive and trickles down, and as the right-hand strategic business partner to the executive, you are carrying that culture every single day. Maybe your company is in need of a culture shift. This is very important. It's a running theme at our events around how you can truly drive a change and a shift in culture for the better within your organization. Burnout and turnover, huge, not only for yourself, but also for those on your team, also for those you support, also for those that report into those you support. How do you battle this? And then, of course, revenue goals, ROI. How is what you're going to learn at this event? Take a look at the agenda, take a look at the curriculum, and link it back to how it's going to support revenue goals within your organization. You have to believe in your value to convince your organization of your value. If you don't believe in yourself, how can you convince someone else to believe? It starts with you. If you truly believe that you're adding value every single day to your organization, you're adding value to your executive, you are single-handedly contributing to the bottom line, then you can convince your organization of your value and why they need to invest in you. But you have to believe in it first. It starts with you. And that takes a moment of self-reflection. Do I really believe that what I'm doing is of value? If the answer is yes, then it's time to convince your organization of your value, and you can do that. You have to channel that. And if you channel that value within your organization, you will watch a change and a shift happen within your organization. It's not going to happen overnight, but if you truly believe in the value you're driving, others will follow. Others will see it, and they'll believe it as well. But it starts with you. So step 2C, this is our last value proposition, is how it will benefit your executive. This is my favorite one because we all know this is maybe the most important one. How it's all about them, right? So how is professional development going to enable you to support your exec better? So ultimately, I'm going to go to this event, I'm going to go to this training course, but really, how's it going to make them more successful? I mean, that's your job, right? Your job every day is to add value to your executive and to make them more successful. So how is this course going to do that? You have to demonstrate how professional development is going to benefit those you support. I mean, what's in it for them? You need to communicate what's really in it for them and what are they going to gain by you attending this course. Help your leaders become better leaders. And it's almost like how can they help you help them? How can your executive help you help them? And it's by furthering your professional development and your learning. Step 3, be prepared to overcome objectives. The first thing I'd like to mention here is that there are 2 different types of objectives. The first are internal and the second is external. The first I touched on earlier when we first got started today around internal objectives, the ideas and scenarios that you're making up in your head. Oh, I don't know any other EAs at this organization that have ever gone. Or I submitted this to HR and I've been waiting for 4 months and they never have gotten back to me. Or there's no way my boss would say yes, so I'm just not even going to ask. The scenarios you make up in your head because you never ask or you never follow through because you're afraid of the answer. You have to overcome those. Throw those out. Those are weighing you down. They're stopping you. They're holding you back from being the successful executive assistant that you know you can be and that you deserve to be, and that, frankly, your executive deserves to have. External objectives, which are many of the ones I've outlined here, are those that your executive may share with you. So these are, 5 different objectives that we commonly hear at ELS, but I would love for you guys to share some other objectives that you may have heard. You can go ahead and put them in the comments or submit them through the questions. But these are the 5 common ones that I've heard. The first is, before investing in training, find free, low-cost online training. So let's say you sit down and you do your value prop to your executive and you're like, oh, I'd really like $2,000 to go to this event and focus on my professional development for 2 days. Your exec may say, ooh, well, Sarah, that's a pretty big jump from 0 to 2,000. So why don't we dive in? Why don't we take it slow? And why don't you find some free online low-cost training before we really invest in a conference? Let's feel it out a little bit. Well, congratulations, you're already doing that. You're listening to this webinar. You're already taking initiative to listen in to free online training. There are so many free resources out there, you guys. Take advantage of all of them. Not only our ELSx webinar series, which we do monthly, there's several other free webinars for executive assistants out there. There's Coursera, which is also free or extremely low cost. There's so many. Be prepared that if and when they say this, you're like, oh, actually, I've been doing that for months. And here's all my certificates of attendance. And I've gone to technology training and I did a project management certification. And I did. So you've already been doing that. You are taking your professional development seriously. You've explored all the free options. You're ready to take it to the next level. You want to get a certification. You want to go to a 2-day conference. It's really hard for them to overcome that one. Show them how serious you are about professional development. The second objection is, who's going to run the office while you're out? Oh man, I don't know if I can afford to have you out of the office for a few days. Have a game plan. Have a game plan. Maybe you have a colleague that can support you. Maybe you have backup. Maybe you have no backup or no colleagues. Maybe you're going to have to do some extra work after the training course, or you're going to have to be available while you're there. That's a huge bummer, but it's the reality of so many people. Have a game plan. Maybe you go to the course while your executive is on vacation and off the grid, and you align training with when they may not need as much support. That goes into our third objection, which is timing isn't right. Think through the timing. Say you live in Atlanta and you really want to go to the Atlanta ELS Forum, but it's the end of Q1 and you know that it's going to be all hands on deck and that it's going to be reporting and investors, and you're just not going to be able to get out of the office at that time. That's okay. We have 19 other of the exact same events throughout the year. Can't go to that one? Cool. We have 19 other dates. And it's not just for ELS. There are so many other events and conferences and seminars and courses for executive assistants, depending on what you'd like to focus on. Find one that aligns with your timing, and don't assume, never assume, guys, that your executive or your organization won't pay for you to travel. Maybe the local event isn't coinciding with a good time for you. Maybe they'll send you across the country. You never know. If the timing is right, they may be willing to pay for you, and that should be part of your value proposition. You're thinking through the timing. You're thinking through when would be the best time of the year for you to get training based on their schedule, setting both of you up for success. This one, number 4, what about the other EAs in the office? This one just fires me up. Oh, you know what? We'd really love to send you, but it just seems unfair that the other EAs in the office. I don't know if we can send everybody. This excuse makes me so angry. There's multiple ways to deal with this objection. The first thing that I want to say is that not all the other EAs in the office want to get training. That's just a fact, a sad fact, that not all other EAs in the office care about their professional development. They don't all want to level up. They don't all want to be the strategic business partner. They don't all view this role as a profession and a lifelong career, and that's okay. Not everybody is you. We all have our own individual goals, and that's fine. Your job is to not worry about them. Your job is to worry and focus on you. Maybe there are other EAs in the office that really want to go. Maybe you can champion for them. Maybe you can get a group together. But you should not be held back because it's not fair. We don't live in a utopia. That's not reality. That's not the world that we live in. Your priority should be on you. Your executive's priority should be on the two of you and what the two of you need to do to achieve greatness and success in your partnership. And that's what you need to sell them on. It would be great if your other EA colleagues want to come along, you want to get a group together. It's going to be a whole training and development activity and team building. That's fantastic, but that's not the reality in every situation. And a lot of EAs aren't going to be interested in that. So focus on you and focus on the partnership with your executive. And focus on how this training course is going to help your executive, and it's going to help you support them in your partnership. The last one, what if you leave after they've invested in you? This is the one they will not tell you. This is the fear of every company ever in investing in training and development for their employees, not just EAs, all employees. What if we pay all this money and they leave? Well, that could very well happen. There's absolutely no way around that. But they could also not pay and you could stay and not be as successful in the role as you could be if you had training. For this one, I would encourage you guys to go back to the value proposition. The better you can drive home how much this training is going to help the organization, help the executive you're supporting or the team you're supporting, it'll help reassure them, wow, she is really invested in this company. He's really invested in this team, in this partnership. They want what's best for us. We should want what's best for them. So you can indirectly overcome this fear the best you can by relating it back to how the training course, how the professional development is going to better the organization and your executive. Really drive home that commitment. All right, moving right along into step 4. Find your allies. Ask other departments for funding and support. You guys are not alone. You guys are not alone. So depending on your situation, depending on the organization, your executive may or may not play a key decision factor in you attending or getting funding for professional development. Even if your executive says no, that doesn't mean no. Find your allies. Ask other departments for funding or support, such as training and development or HR. These guys have budgets. Pull budget together from multiple sources, such as executives and departments. So maybe, let's say you're trying to register for a professional development course and it's $2,000. And say you support 4 people. That's $500 a person. Are they each willing to give you $500, either from their own budgets or from their personal pockets? Probably. It's not that much. For the whole year? Or maybe your executive's willing to contribute a certain amount. You get a certain amount from training and development. Maybe you're willing to contribute a few $100s. Pull together the cash needed. Be resourceful. And that leads us into the third one around training is the gift that keeps on giving. This goes back to they don't know unless you ask. If you guys really want training, have an open and honest conversation with your executive about what you really want. Tell them and let them know, you know what, this holiday season, I don't need the gift card or the flowers or a check. What I'd really love is to sign up for a training course in 2020. Could you do that for me? Could you help me get there? They don't know. They've never been an EA. Chances are they've never been an EA. They don't know what you need, guys. They don't know unless you tell them. They can't possibly know. Power in numbers. Get a group together. I know at ELS we offer a pretty significant discount for groups. I'm sure other training courses do the same. Get a group together and secure that reduced rate. And lastly, utilize the company tuition reimbursement program. A lot of companies have this and they don't advertise it. I am seeing this more and more. At our events, people tell me, Emily, I paid for this out of pocket, but when I leave and receive my certificate of attendance, my company is going to reimburse me for it. Just because your boss says no, I don't have the budget. These are all other options that you can go and seek in order to find the funds to get there. If you guys have other suggestions that I'm missing, I would love to hear them. So please go ahead and submit them in the questions or the comments, because I certainly might be missing a few. I love this quote: professional development in any position is up to the individual. I don't wait for someone to tell me how to do it or where to get it. This is from Rita Black. She's an executive assistant at Cisco. She was a contributor at our Indianapolis Forum this year. And I love what she said because it's so true. It's up to the individual. I think in most cases, it's up to us to seek out opportunity. In fact, in almost all cases. Every once in a while, I talk to an EA at one of our events, and they're like, Emily, my executive found this event and encouraged me to attend. Those are rare. If you guys want it, you got to go after it. You got to bring it to the table. Don't wait for someone to tell you how or where to do it. Go get it. Go get it. And even if you submit it and it's just sitting there, sitting on your executive desk, sitting in HR, sitting in finance for approval, follow up. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Be persistent. Do not take no for an answer. Where there's a will, there is a way. Now, of course, there's a right way and a wrong way to do things. But if we can follow these steps and we can go about it professionally and passionately, then there is a way. You just can't wait for someone to tell you to do it. Step 5 is advocate and plan ahead. And this is our last step. Start planning ahead. The first thing is to negotiate professional development into your compensation package. I cannot reiterate this enough. Next time you're up for a compensation review, or the next time you move to a different role or a different organization, the next time you have the chance to talk about your compensation, negotiate this in. This is huge. And I would encourage you to negotiate in a specific budget. Look at the events that you're interested in going to. Look at a specific course that you're interested in registering for and figure out how much money you need and negotiate it in. I have found in most cases that organizations are happy to do this because it's not straight cash immediately. It's not money that they have to pay you immediately, like a salary or a bonus or commission. It's something that's just going to hang there until you decide to make a move. And you're going to make a move, of course. But negotiate this in. Add your professional development to the budget for next year. Who's setting the budget? This goes back to step 1, right, of budget analysis. So once you've done your homework in step 1, you figured out where the budget is coming from, make sure that you're slotted in there. So it could be your departmental budget. You need to be in there. I need $2,000. I need $3,000 for training. Or maybe it's training and development. Maybe it's just your budget one-on-one with your executive. Figure out where that's coming from and put your professional development in there. Now is the time. It's the end of the year, almost. Q4. Now is the time to put your professional development in for 2020. Get it in there, guys. Find out who you need to talk to and get it in there. Advocate within your organization for training and development. Befriend training and development. Okay. Training and development departments are your new best friends. These folks love professional development because it's what they do every single day. They're like me, but they're inside your organization. But they've been told by the leadership of the company that they have to prioritize sales and compliance and engineers. They don't know what you need because, again, no one's ever told them. They don't know your pain points. They don't know what you're struggling with. They don't know that you need training, but they love training and they have the budget. They have the big budget. So befriend training and development. Grab coffee with the training and development folks. Sit down and have lunch with them. Schedule a meeting. Get on their calendars and let them know what's going on among the admins. We need training and development too. How do we get on your schedule? How do I get some of the budget? Ask them questions. The training and development folks will be your biggest advocates. Find them, befriend them, power in numbers. Advocate within your organization for training. Organize internal training, mentorships, and lunch and learns. This is completely free. It shows your executive and your organization that you are serious. It goes back to when I was mentioning registering for all the free online training. This is another way you can show them how serious you are about training and about your career and about professional development. And if people don't jump on board immediately, don't be discouraged. If there's one person that shows up to your lunch and learn, cool. Get to know that one person. Talk about your pain points. Collaborate, share ideas, share solutions. Eventually, people will catch on. It could take months. It could take a year. It could take more than that. But be the leader that ignites change within your administrative support team. Show those executives that you are serious about this and that it deserves attention and training dollars. And the last thing is self-funded professional development. And depending on the cost of the course, I understand that this can be difficult for some people. And in some cases, you may feel like it's not an option for you. It's up to the individual person. We have several people that attend the ELS Forum that pay out of pocket every year. Not many, but certainly a handful. You may be able to think back to times that you've registered and paid for a course out of your own pocket in order to better your education, your professional development. Professional development for EAs is no different. So that's something that you have to decide on your own. Maybe your executive is willing to split the cost with you. It goes back to that point, I believe, in step 4 around finding allies and thinking outside of the box around how you can pull money and budget together. Maybe you contribute a certain amount in addition to your executive, in addition to HR. So get creative, guys, with how you can fund professional development and plan ahead. I'm sure many of you have seen Michelle Williams' speech from the 2019 Emmys a few weekends ago. It was all over the internet and all over social media, but in case you haven't, I've linked it here for you. Her speech was incredible, and as I was sitting on my couch watching the Emmys, and when Michelle got up to accept her award, I was screaming like, yes, girl, yes, this is everything. It is everything. So a little bit of backstory for you. Michelle won Best Actress for her role in a miniseries, I believe it was, or a TV movie, Fosse. And when she was negotiating to come on for this role, she told the company, the entertainment company, that she needed training. That in order for her to deliver the best possible performance in her job, she needed training. She needed additional voice lessons. She needed dance lessons. These are all things that she needed expertise in training on. And she negotiated it in, and they said, yes, yes, yes. And she got the training, and she ended up doing so amazingly well that she won an Emmy Award. It is the exact same thing for you. You can read this quote on your own and you can listen to her incredible speech on your own time. But essentially, she's telling us that when a woman tells you what she needs in order to do her job, believe her. She's able to succeed in her workplace environment because she was supported and given the tools to succeed. And the same tools that anybody else within the organization, especially a male, would be given. It is such a powerful speech, and it is so on point with truly fighting for training and development resources within your organization and to better you as executive assistants. So if you need to get pumped up before you walk into that meeting with your executive to deliver your value proposition of why you deserve training, why you deserve professional development, spend 3 minutes and listen to Michelle Williams' speech, because she will remind you of exactly why you are deserving of this. It is so, so important that we have the resources and the training and the development needed to succeed as professionals. Everybody else gets it. What about executive assistants? You are just as deserving as anybody else. This is my favorite quote on the ELS social media page. I'm an executive assistant, which means I have a PhD in making shit happen. And that could not be further from the truth. You guys make the impossible possible every day. I know I've said that a million times, and I will say it a million more times. Don't forget about yourselves. You make everything else happen for everybody else in the office. That is your job. You are amazing at it. But don't forget about making it happen for you. It's like flying on the airplane. You have to put your oxygen mask on first before you can help those around you. If you are not taking care of yourself, if you are not giving yourself the oxygen needed, if you are not investing in yourself, you're going to burn out and you're not going to be able to support those around you. You're not going to be able to take them to the next level. So don't forget to take care of yourself, and don't forget to fight for what you deserve, because what you need matters just as much as anybody else. Thank you so much for listening in today. And at this time, I am going to hand it back over to Nadia. I welcome all questions. And I've also linked here how we can connect. This is my LinkedIn, both the ELS LinkedIn and my own personal, my email as well. Feel free to email me directly. And then also the ELS Instagram account, which I encourage everyone to follow along. All of the graphics and the quotes I shared today are directly from both our Instagram and our LinkedIn account. So Nadia, what kind of questions do we have today?
Yes, thank you so much for that, Emily. A reminder to everyone just to submit your questions via the toolbar on the right-hand side of your screen. Emily, one question that came up early on is we have someone listening in who is 63 years of age, but she does, however, plan on continuing working for the next 5 to 7 years. Unfortunately, what she runs into at her organization is the perception that there is no value added to pay for her training. What are some suggestions you have? I know you outlined some great points, but for this particular listener, and any feedback would be great.
Absolutely. So if I'm going to assume here that the organization doesn't feel the need to invest in this person because they're at the later stage of their career. And that is being an ageist. So that is essentially the company is holding back from delivering training to somebody because they're afraid that they're too old, or that they're too sophisticated, or that too seasoned in their career, and that they're A, going to leave, or B, they should know everything by now because they've been in the role for so long. And that could not be further from the truth. So it's really important to drive home the fact of, again, go back to the curriculum of the professional development and look at the course and identify the areas that need improvement. Listen, we are all lifelong learners, or at least we should be. So we should always continue our learning journey, and we're never going to be perfect. So even if you've been in the role for 20, 30, 40 years, it's really important to take a look at that curriculum and link it back to the areas that you know that you need to improve on. Either you know or you've been told that you need to improve on. I also think that for somebody who's seasoned in their career, it should be really refreshing to the organization because you want to stay on top of it. You don't want to get set in your ways. You don't want to just glide to the last 5 years of your career. You want to make sure that you go 100% full speed ahead. And as we know, technology, times are changing very quickly, and you want to stay abreast of what's happening. So I would focus on that.
Great. Another question that comes to mind, Emily, and you mentioned this in your objectives, who's going to be running the office while I'm out receiving professional development. And a trend we're seeing sometimes at the forum is 40% of the room can still be working while they're attending professional development training. And we want them to make the most of any course they attend or participate on to make the most of that training. What's some guidance you can give for them to communicate with their executive how important it is that they really take that time out of the office when they're receiving professional development to be focused just on that?
Yeah. So setting expectations. Again, they don't know until you communicate it to them. So setting clear expectations and guidelines about what is expected of you while you are at a training course, while you are not in the office. Same thing if you were to go on vacation or take time away. What is expected of you during that time? And it's very important to have a clear, candid conversation with those you support about that. So set the expectations. Hopefully the expectations are that you are not going to be available unless it's urgent. We know that is not always reality. I hope that we can get there one day. But I think really setting those clear guidelines and expectations, and maybe it's from 9 to 5, while the content in this course is going on, I'm not available. But I will be available from 5 to 7 p.m. or after I put my kids to bed from 7 to 9 p.m. I am available. Set the expectation. Let's have a call. We can talk through everything. Yes, it's more work for you. It's a longer day. Sometimes it's a little bit of compromising, a little take and give. But have a conversation about it. Where there's a will, there's a way. You just have to put it forth and communicate through that process.
Perfect answer. Thank you. We have someone else listening in who her organization just went through a reduction in force. And while her position is still intact, there is fewer responsibilities and things she's needing to do in the workplace. So how can she approach her manager for training when the workload has gone down quite a bit?
Yeah, that is a tough situation for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I think two things. The first is that I would be very watchful of what's happening within the organization right now. Look for the pain points. Keep an eye out for opportunities to step in. And don't wait for somebody to assign you a task. Dive in and solve problems before you're even asked. Get involved in things that you're not even asked to be involved in to solve problems. Get ahead of projects, take initiative, jump in. If it truly is a situation where the position has changed, the responsibilities have been reduced, the budgets are being cut, and you're a high level EA or you're looking to get to that real strategic business partner level, then it's probably time to start looking for a new job. Because if the role is too basic for you and it's too simple and there really isn't a lot of opportunity, then I would suggest looking for somewhere that would be a better fit, where you could really contribute more to a partnership and more to the bottom line of the executive.
Great. Another question we have is, just depending on the budget of the company, and I know you mentioned this throughout your presentation, but unfortunately for this particular EA, the fact that higher leadership can't afford training for the whole office, since they have to focus on sending higher leadership to training, and that they're kind of putting the EAs at the bottom level for funding. Any additional suggestions you can offer in regards to how to approach that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's super common. Organizations always put the leaders first, and that's to be expected. I think this goes back to thinking outside the box. So having a one-on-one conversation with your executive about how you want to support them better and the needs that you have. Maybe they're willing to pay for your training out of their own pocket. That happens often. What resources can you find in training and development, in HR? Is there a tuition reimbursement program? So it's, even if on the surface level there's no budget, dig in deeper or try to get added to the budget for next year. Another thing that I'll say, and this is actually a whole nother topic, but I do think that at some point we have to decide that if your organization will not support training and development in any way, shape, or form, you've gone through all the steps, you've investigated every avenue, you've waited years, you've tried to put in the budget, you've done everything you possibly can, and there's absolutely no way they're going to support you in your professional development, then I think it's time to question whether that's the right organization for you, if professional development is something that you value, which I'm assuming if you're listening into this webinar, it is indeed something that you value. It's
Great.
really important that the organizations that we work for have a value alignment with your own personal values. And that can be a really hard question to ask yourself, because maybe you like your job and you like the person you're supporting, or you like the people that you work with, or you have other good benefits. So you have to weigh those things out. But ultimately, if they don't see your job valuable enough to invest in you, then you have to question, I don't know, what does it look like long term here? And I will tell you that there are so many companies that are willing to invest. So many companies that are willing to invest in you. So it is a difficult question to ask. That's a whole different topic. But it is something that at some point, if it really is coming up dry and you've really exhausted all the options and you've been pushing for it for years, it is, unfortunately, a reality that we have to ask ourselves.
Well, unfortunately, we have reached the conclusion of this webinar, but Emily, you've given us some great insights, so thank you so much for that. I'd like to express my gratitude to Emily for speaking with us today. You can meet her in person at our upcoming ELS Forum in New York City on October 29th and 30th. Our next ELSx webinar will take place on October 9th, where Diana Brandel will discuss Networking Made Easy, how to become a real networker. You can register for that or any of our upcoming webinars at elsforum.com. I hope you have enjoyed today's ELSx, and a final thank you to everyone for joining us and participating. We hope you enjoy the rest of your week, and I wish you all continued success. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.